qui a cherché et trouvé dans cette union la sauvegarde de l'identité politique et culturelle du Royaume-Uni et de l'Europe. Qui a été l'artisan de l'adhésion de son pays à la communauté européenne. Scellant ainsi, au plus haut niveau de la vision et de l'action, l'amitié qui l'a uni dans cet accomplissement à Jean Monnet, père de l'Europe communautaire. Et qui n'a jamais cessé de travailler à la réalisation de cet idéal. En hommage de reconnaissance, d'admiration et de respect. Donné au nom de la Fondation Jean Monnet pour l'Europe à la ferme de Dorigny à Lausanne, le 12 novembre 1999. Sur une face, vous avez l'effigie de Jean Monnet. Et sur l'autre face, vous avez rassemblé les autres pères fondateurs. Robert Schuman, Konrad Adenauer, Alcide de Gasperi, Johann Wilhelm Bayen, Joseph Bech, Paul-Henri Spaak. Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre, de l'honneur que vous nous faites en acceptant cette marque de gratitude.
President, ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly honored by the receipt of this medal and by the ceremony which we have just heard. What are you going to do? No, I think they understand perfectly. They don't understand? Sure. Perfectly. Perfectly. Yeah, well, that's all right. I'd understood all the earlier proceedings. This gave me time to think out a speech and reply. This is for me a very moving and splendid occasion. I was elected to Parliament on the 23rd of February 1950, and I have remained there ever since, in the same constituency. And so that on February the 23rd, in the year 2000, I shall have completed 50 years membership of the British House of Commons. Yeah. I made my maiden speech on June the 26th, 1950, and it urged the then Labour government to join in the negotiations to found what was the first of the European communities, the coal and steel community. But very foolishly, as so often has happened, they ignored my advice. And the result was that we didn't become a member until I brought Britain into the community in 1972. As I constantly emphasized to them, as I did indeed last Wednesday, that meant 22 wasted years for the British, in which we had no influence, no power, and then could change nothing which had been decided. Well, we now have the single currency, and we're not in it. does this mean more wasted years for the British? Because we shall finish up in the single currency. Well, Jean Monnet and I became very close friends. We only had two differences. When I lunched with him in Paris, we always ate oysters. And when he came to lunch with me in London, he refused to eat my oysters. The other difference was he said constantly to me, "Get in, just get in, and then you can arrange everything once you're inside." And I said, "Jean, I can't do it. I've got to arrange everything before I get in." And that was the problem facing us in Britain in the negotiations. And so he became a great friend. His advice was always very sound. And I'm deeply indebted to him for the help which he constantly gave me. And I'm delighted to see this gathering today so authoritative about these matters. And I'm particularly delighted because the European Union is entering, or has already entered, a somewhat difficult period in its history. But let us not in any way be depressed by that. This audience is not depressed. And the simple fact is that we all go through difficult periods in our history, and we have to get them right. And that is what is going to happen with the European Union now. Of course, I'm afraid in my own country, there was a great deal of criticism and saying the rather unsavory financial matters which emerged mean the end of the community or the union. Nothing could be further from the truth. Unfortunately, my own party, what remains of it, which isn't very much, has now decided that it wants to leave the community. It's disguising it by putting up a lot of conditions which can't possibly be met. And if they're not met, then they say they will leave. This is a sad thing about my own country, that whereas the members of the Union, as they now are, have always had parties who agreed about their membership, in my country, we have always had disagreement. And parties have not hesitated for a moment to change their position if they went out of office and went into opposition. So it has been a difference on a seesaw between the political parties. I hoped that having got in and established our membership, the Labour Party having been kept out of office, but now they are the government again, they are not only supporting membership, but helping to develop it. That would bring to an end this seesaw, but it hasn't. My own party has now decided to go in the opposite direction. That is disheartening for many of us, but we shall pull through it. And my own party has to learn from the lesson of the Labour Party. They fought 3 elections against Europe and never succeeded. It was only when they became sensible about Europe that they succeeded 2.5 years ago. We shall have to go through the same procedure. And our party, which is already the smallest we've had since Lord Liverpool in 1830, the smallest party, and they will get less and less until they change and recognize reality. And that may take them some time. The longer it is, the longer they'll stay out of office. And we shall carry on as active members of the community. There is a slight misunderstanding in the Labour Party that they can change the community to something they've thought up. Well, they'll have to learn the lesson again. That when you've got an established community, you can't come in and say this is what it's going to be, because it won't make any difference. And you then look very silly. Well, some politicians don't mind looking silly. In fact, they make a practice of looking silly. But that's not the way you achieve your ends. And so, having lived through 50 years of this in politics, I've said greatly honored to be here today to receive the Jean Monnet Medal and have the opportunity of meeting you and listening to this morning's very instructive proceedings. And I congratulate you on everything you've achieved and what you are still going to work for. Thank you very much.
Votre flèche ne marche pas.
Is that all right?
Non, non. Oui. Un instant, j'ai besoin d'un service. Non, tout de même, Monsieur le Président Georges-André Chevalard, non, doit monter à épandage. J'ai besoin de quelqu'un